Alright, I haven't uploaded any video in a while, but today I just felt like let's come back. So today I'm going to play some chess and talking through my mind, talking through my thoughts. No fancy editing, no over the top stuff, just pure chess and mindset. That's it. I'll play a few games, explain what's going on in my head while thinking, and then I'm going to analyze my games. So let's see how it goes. Let's start. It's a 10 minutes game. I'm having a rating of around 2000 because I don't really play much. I'm going to play the French opening, allowing white to have the complete control of the center, and now going to strike in the center with d5. If white takes, I'll take it. Knight c3. Now I'm also going to develop my knight, attacking the pawn on e4. White is trying to defend it with the bishop. Okay, so now I can take, but then the bishop would be very nice on e4. So I would like to avoid that. Instead, I'll play c5, striking in the center, which makes sense. If he takes, I'll just take back with the bishop. If he takes the pawn, I'll simply capture it back with the pawn. And yeah, I'm loving. Actually, after takes, I'm thinking of d cross e4, but he's having this bishop b5 check. Then he can capture my queen, and I will lose my castling right. So instead, I'll simply capture the pawn on c5 with the bishop. He took the pawn, and now I'm going to simply recapture the pawn on d5. Currently I'm having an IQP, but my knight and bishop are nicely developed. I can castle up. I can get my rook on e8. Overall, I'm feeling pretty good. Let's see how white is going to continue the game. So currently IQP is I'm having an isolated pawn on d5, which could be a weakness in the long term. So I need to try to keep maximum pieces on the board. Here comes rook e8 check. If I'm getting the opportunity to check my king, I should do it. You see, I'm trying to play fast as possible. Currently he wants to take on f6. He can take on d5, but he would lose the b2 pawn. So it's all about calculation. It's a check, so maybe he's thinking he can stop the check with bishop e2 or bishop e3. Bishop e3 would simply lose with bishop e3, so he have to play the move bishop e2. And who knows, maybe I can even push the pawn to d4 then, which looks to me a pretty good move. Attacking the knight can't go anywhere because the knight would lose itself. So I don't know, maybe knight e2. But knight e2 already looks very passive. I can continue with bishop g4, and I'm already loving my position. So it's a question how white is going to continue the position. Let's see. Rook e8, it's a check. So bishop e2. Now let's go on d4. Simply attacking the knight. If knight f4 just attacking the bishop. Okay, so first he took on f6. Now I can simply take it back with the queen. And a knight e4 is not an option because I can take. So you have to play the move knight d5, attacking the queen. But now I'm already feeling the knight on d5 is a bit vulnerable. I can simply attack with, queen e5, simply lose the queen. Instead, maybe I can somehow attack this knight. Maybe queen e6. Queen e6 allows knight c7, so it's not a good option. Just queen c6 looks like a good move. Even queen d6 looks like a good move to me. Yeah, queen d6. Yeah, queen d6, and I believe the knight is trapped. He can try to play the move c4 and pass, and he can take back with the knight. But still, queen d6 looks like a good move to me. After c4, I'm having already a strong pawn on d4. Maybe I can simply get my bishop on e6. I can be a pawn up, a strong pawn on d4. So here we go, we have c4. If I pass, he will simply take with the knight. I need to think. Okay. So currently I'm thinking of bishop e6 just to take the knight on d5. Though I would lose the bishop pair. And that's the one thing that I would like to avoid. I'm thinking of bishop f5, castle d3. It's not working up. D3 direct is like a bad move. Need to think of a good move. Currently, I'm already having a very fine position. If I end pass, I'm strongly considering end pass. Bishop e6 looks like a fine move, but maybe I'm giving some compensation to my opponent. Time to locate his pieces. You know what? Let's go bishop e6. Let's just be a pawn up, and let's try to convert the game. I'm having already a passed pawn on d4, so it should be a good idea. Let's see. I'm already expecting my opponent to castle up. I'll just take on d5, and I'll be a pawn up. Yeah, let's go. Okay, so I can just take. Okay, I'll take. He'll play rook c1. Oh, you know what? I'll just take. Now, my idea is to play the move knight d7, knight f6, getting the knight into the game, getting the other rook to the d file, trying to push the pawn to d3 down the board, and then I would be having a very fine position. Now, b3 was a bad move. I believe he wanted to play the move rook c1, but he was afraid of a2 was hanging, but my bishop was simply hanging on c5. So b3, he wants to play the move bishop c4 still. Now, first, I guess I'll just play knight c6, allowing him to play the move bishop to c4. I'll simply drop back with the queen. The question is where. Maybe queen f5 looks like a good move to me. Queen f5 looks a very decent move to me. I'm defending the pawn on f7. I can get the other rook to d8, and I can start rolling my pawn to d3, d2, and I'm already loving my position. Let's see after queen f5 what he does. Maybe rook e1 could be an idea. I can at least play the move h6 first, just trying to get rid of the back rank issues. Bishop d3 looks like a fine move to me. Now queen f6 looks like a move. Queen f6, just defending the pawn, doing nothing crazy, just getting the idea is just simply get the rook, the final piece into the game with rook a to d8. Knight b4, jumping in, trying to dislodge the bishop from d3. The dark squares are extremely weak, so b3 was indeed a bad move. Now queen c2. Okay, now queen c2 is actually a good move. Attacking the bishop and also attacking the pawn on h7, which I simply missed. Okay, so I need to think now. I need to move my bishop. Okay, now bishop b4 looks like a good move to me. Bishop b4. I can sack the pawn on h7, which I simply missed. And I need to give up the pawn. King h8, and now he's kind of forced to go back with the bishop. Or else I can play the move g6 and the bishop would be trapped. And now it's time to play the move bishop c3. Perfectly putting my bishop on c3. A very good square for the bishop. Trying to take control of all the dark squares and now getting in with knight to b4. Attacking the queen and the bishop and also the pawn on a2. I'm believing the opponent is going to play the move queen to b1. And that's exactly what it did. And now the question is how to continue the position. One idea is I can simply get the rook into the game. Another idea here is, which I'm loving, is to simply dislodge the bishop from the d3 nice diagonal. And now my bishop on c3 is a very super strong piece. I'm already having an open file. Material wise the position is even, but thanks to the pawn on d4 I'm believing my position is very well. Okay, so now I'm first going to get in with my rook, with the idea of getting the final rook into the game with rook a to e8 and trying to put some pressure on the second rank. And I believe the black's position is very happy. I'm already pretty happy in this position. Let's see how the opponent is going to continue the position. Maybe rook d1, but rook d1, rook e8, knight d4 can never be an option because queen f2 ends the game with a checkmate. So he needs to be super alert. He can't move the rook and the knight at the same time because the f2 and g2 would be a checkmate. Let's see. For now, my idea is pretty clean. I want to get my another rook, the final piece into the game with rook a to e8. Move the rook, maybe to, sorry about that, maybe just to b2. Getting the another rook to the second rank, basically both the rooks onto the second rank and simply dominate the position. Capture all the pawns on the second rank and eventually mate the white king. Let's see how the opponent is going to continue the position. And yeah. My opponent is having the rating of 1974. He's from Spain. I'm not really well sure that he is from Spain, but he could be from Spain. Who knows, maybe he like Carlos Alcaraz. So he just put the flag of Spain. I'm not sure, but okay. Rook e2. And he simply went for capturing the pawn on d4. Okay, his idea is actually if I take on d4, he wants to give me a check, queen h7, check, king f8, queen h8, king e7, and I lose the rook on it, which is the move which I simply missed. And Okay, now let me just calculate. Bishop d4, rook h3, king g8, king queen h7, king f8, queen h8, king e7, queen a8. Can I capture on f2? Rook f2. Okay, rook f2 would be a bad move because b7 hangs. I need to find a good move then. To be true, it looks like a bad idea. My bishop is also attacked, my rook is also attacked, so... Okay. Oh, wow. Wow. Actually, after bishop d4, rook h3, king g8, queen h7, king f8, queen h8, queen king e7, queen a8, I can sack my queen. He takes rook e1 is a checkmate. If you move the king, I'm having two ways of mate him, so let's go. This is winning. King g8. Queen f7, king f8, queen h8, king e7. I can sack the rook and I can sack my queen. I can sack my queen and mate him. That's winning. Let's go. Queen f2 wins. For black, it's a forced checkmate. King h1, queen g2, or if king h1, queen g2, or queen f1 is a mate, he takes the queen. I play rook e1, and that's a mate. The rook is pinned, and that's game over. That's exactly how you should play chess. So overall, I missed some move, but eventually the tactics worked out for me. But it's all about calculation. Yeah. So let's see queen f2. It's game over. GG. I'll play another game. Let's keep 2 games in this video. And yeah, in the other video, I'm going to make a video on maybe a middle game series, maybe endgame series, maybe opening. Yeah. So now, before I jump onto the next game, I want to analyze this game. So I'm going to open the analysis and let's analyze the game. So it was a French. c5 is the best move. I took. Now actually d4 is the best move in this position, allowing bishop b5 check. And I can simply play bishop d7. There is no queen yet available. And if he just takes on e4, I can take. And he loses the castling rights and black is simply better. So yeah, d4 would have been the best move. Bishop c5 was played, took. He should have pushed the pawn to e5 and white is slightly better. He took, knight f3, castle, bishop g5, which was a bad move, allowing me to give a check to the white king. Bishop goes back, d4, he took, knight goes to d5, queen d6, c4, and now bishop b4 check was the best move. Even knight c6 or a5 is the best move. I played bishop e6, I took over here, I'm simply a pawn up. Now b3 I believe was a bad move. He should have played the move rook to c1 in the game. Queen, I can't take on a2 because my bishop is hanging on c5. Instead he played the move b3, knight c6, bishop c4, queen f5. I put my queen on f6. Now queen c2 was a move which I simply missed. I played bishop b4, the best move. And even after giving the pawn back, black is simply better. I took on d3, which was not the best idea, but I believe practically the bishop was a bit irritating, so I decided to took off the bishop. Rook goes to e2, and now he went for capturing the pawn, but it was a bad move because the tactics works out for me, because after takes on a2, I'm having a mate in 2, which is queen cross f2. If you take the queen, that's a mate. If you move the king, I'm having 2 ways to mate the king. If queen cross f1 is winning, and queen cross g2 is also a mate. So these were the 2 games. If I try to check out my accuracy, what was my accuracy in this game? Let's check out the accuracy. So white was having the accuracy of 81 and I was having the accuracy of 94.8, which was amazing. I even found a brilliancy, which was, I don't know, let's check out the brilliancy. So the brilliancy was queen cross f2, and that was a winning shot by me. I'm pretty happy with this game, so now let's move on to the next game. Let's keep it the final game of the video. 2 game is, I believe, is good enough. Let's see, d4. Basically, the whole purpose of this video is I'm trying to play chess, and I'm trying to speak up my mind. What I'm thinking while playing chess, what are the moves that I'm considering, how a good chess player think. I do not consider myself a great player, but a decent player could be. And if you are an amateur, maybe around 1500 or 1700 on chess.com. To be true, 2000 is not really my level. My level is around 22 or 2300 on chess.com at least. I do not really play rapid that much. I play bullet. I'm having around 24 or 2500 on bullet, so you can guess my level. FIDE, I'm having around 1800 rating. So yeah, my opponent is having a bad connection maybe. The game is going to get a bot in 10 seconds. Let's wait. D4. So I'm a very positional player. I like to play the move 1d4 because all the positional players love to play the Queen's Gambit. If you're an aggressive player, you might go for playing the move e4. Let's play a new game as the game has been aborted. I'm having a black pieces. I'm once again playing with the black pieces. Now the opponent is from Zimbabwe. Let's see. I'm playing with the black pieces. Once again, the opponent is having a very poor connection. The member is actually offline. So I'm going to just abort the game and I'm going to jump onto the next game. Okay, now finally we have a new game. Once again, let's play the French because I'm a purely one French player. Let's check. Now we have the exchange French on the board. Let's play knight f6. Expecting my opponent to play the move bishop d3. Instead, he played the move bishop to g5. Maybe he wants to develop the pieces on the queen side and simply wants to castle up on the long side. I'm going to play the bishop to d6, expecting knight c3. Instead, he played the move c4 and now attacking the pawn. Now, I have played French throughout my career, so I already know the best move in this position, which is bishop b4. Putting the bishop on a very nice square on b4, giving a check. The knight comes out, and now I can simply castle up in this position with the idea of rook e8, giving a check to the white king. If bishop e2, I can take on c4 in this position. And sort of this is a fine position. So we have c5. Now I'm thinking of b6 in this position. I can also give a check, but I'll first play the move b6 in this position. Okay, now a3, I'm going to take on c3. He takes, and I can simply take on c5. Once he takes on c5, white is having a very terrible pawn structure on the queen side. I'm already loving my position. Now rook e8, check is coming up, bishop e2, bishop a6, and I'm already loving my position. He can't take the bishop because the bishop is pinned. He can't castle up because the e2 is hanging up, and I'm already better. I'm expecting knight d4. That's exactly what happened in the game. Now I want to play the move knight c6, but I can't because he can simply take because the queen is also hanging. h6 looks like a very decent move to me. So I'm going to play the move h6, kind of forcing the opponent to capture the knight on f6. If he goes back, maybe I can even go g5. Bishop g3, knight e4. Maybe rook c1, and I can simply take on c5. To be true, I'm loving my position after g5. Maybe the tactics works out for me just fine, so let's see. Now another idea could be to simply take on e2, knight e2, queen e7, but he is having rook a2, so I'm first going to jump in with my knight to e4. Now he can take on a6, but knight c3 simply wins. It would be a check, and he loses the queen, so he needs to defend the c3 pawn at all costs because it attacks the bishop and the queen. So he plays rook c1, and now I can at least go for capturing the pawn on c5. I can also capture the bishop on e2, knight e2, and maybe then I can simply think. Let's see, knight c5 looks like a decent move to me. Even knight d7 looks like a decent move to me. The bishop looks a bit strong on g3, that's for sure. So I'm trying to wonder how can I continue the position. Maybe I can simply take on c5. I'm not really sure how to continue after taking on c5. I'm thinking of just waiting once he castles up, and I can simply take the bishop on g3 because currently the bishop on g3 looks like a very strong piece to me. So I'm just wondering how can I even get my knight out from the d7 square. I'm thinking of just knight to d7, but I'm a bit concerned with c6, and then I need to calculate a bit. Maybe just knight c5. You know what? I'll just take on c5, keeping the position as simple as possible. I'm expecting castle, and now I'm going to chop off the bishop on e2, removing opponent's bishop pair advantage. Knight e2 is the only move, and I wanted to play the move queen f6, but he can chop off my pawn, attacking the rook and the knight, which I'm not a big fan of. I believe knight c6 looks like a fine move to me, developing both my knight, and now knight to d4. Okay. Now I can take on d4, allowing knight queen d4. Yeah, knight d4 looks like a fine move. If he takes with the queen, that would be a blunder because I'm having knight b3, so he took with the pawn, and now I can play knight e6 if I'm not wrong. Knight e6 looks like a fine move. I'm defending the pawn on c7. And yeah, maybe I'm not really sure if taking on d4 was the correct approach for me. But let's see, I'm currently a pawn up. My king side is a bit weak, a bit compromised because I have inputted the move g5 in. But let's see, it's not the end of the game. So end of the world. We have f4 on the board. Now taking on f4 would be a terrible idea. My king would be simply terribly weak, and f4 I believe is a very good move. So I'm actually thinking to just play queen f6, allowing him to, basically the idea is to get the pawn. He have to play rook c7. I can give a check maybe, take on g3, and yeah, 2b2 I'm not really loving my position then, but his attack is coming up pretty fast. f5 is no problem. If it takes, I can simply take it back with the h pawn. So let's see, how can I even continue the position? Like how? f5 is no problem. I want to somehow trade off the pieces, but the question is how. If he takes, once he takes over here, queen h5 is also coming up. Maybe just queen f6 takes queen. We have a queen trade. He can take on c7. Not a big fan of that position. Knight e2, king h1, knight g3, g3, and basically the f7 pawn is hanging. That's the main problem. That's the main issue. Okay, so what could be the move? Sorry if I'm not speaking much, but I'm trying to calculate. I'm trying to think. King g7. He can take queen g4. Yeah, maybe king g7 looks fine. But no, king g7 also looks a pretty bad move to me. But okay, I'll just try king g7. But that's a bad move. He can simply take on g5 and he can simply give a check on e5. But maybe if it takes, maybe I should go for queen g5. Queen g5 maybe. King g7 was a terrible move because I simply missed bishop e5. Now I can simply take on e5. He can simply take on g5 now. If he pushes the pawn to... okay, he can also push the pawn to f5. Though he did not. I'll simply take on g5, take my chances, and definitely white is the one pressing for the win here. I'm having a bad position, so let's see. Queen g5. So he's going queen g3, queen f3, trying to attack my f7 pawn, which is a good idea. I'll try rook e7, and now bishop f6 is coming, and I'm losing. I missed bishop f6. King g8, bishop f6, and I lose the game. Yeah, that's GG. Bishop f6 is GG. I lose the game. I lose a piece, and that's game over. Am I having any counter attacks possible? Which I believe I'm not really having that. So maybe I'm just going to resign, and I quickly want to check where did I went wrong. First, I'm going to get my accuracy in. What's the accuracy of both the players? I believe out of the opening I was better, but then I played a very bad game. My opponent had the accuracy of 90.5. I was having the accuracy of 82.7. Let's see. Takes here. Okay, just to make things more transparent, I'm going to use the self-analysis tool so you can check out the bar. Okay, so it was a French. Bishop g5, bishop d6. And now, I thought bishop b5 was a good move. Bishop b4 was a good move, but castle is simply a fine move. Bishop b4, knight c3, castle. c5. Now c5 is definitely a bad move. b6, takes. And now, I'm simply better in this position. Knight d4. His king is still in the center. He's having a bad pawn structure. And h6 was a fine move. g5 is also a great move in this position. And now, in this position, I should have played the move queen e7, just basically not allowing the opponent to castle because I can take on e2. Or else the another way could be to simply take over here. And after knight e2, queen e7, I thought of rook a2. And now queen c5 is simply a move. If he tries to castle up in this position, now queen c4 and the pieces are much nicely placed, which is definitely a thing. Instead, I play knight e4, rook c1, knight took on c5, which is not the correct way to approach the position. I should take on e2, knight e2, and now knight a6 and simply take over here. I was always considering knight d7 because I knew the knight on e4 was a good piece, so I should try to get my another knight to capture this pawn. Oh, but I simply missed this idea of bishop e2, knight e2 and knight a6 and then going for capturing this pawn, which is indeed a very great idea. I played knight c5, castle, bishop e2, knight e2, and now despite black being a pawn up, it's very hard to play with the black pieces because the king is extremely weak. He tried knight d4, takes, knight e6, and f4. And after f4, the best move is actually to play the move queen f6, which I was considering after takes, rook c7. I was not really sure how to play this position. Knight e2, king h1, knight g3. This was everything I calculated. Rook f8 I was considering, but I was not really well sure. After gh6, I thought white is simply better. Though white is not, rook d8 and black can simply keep on pushing the pawn, but obviously I should have gone for it. But now king g7 was a terrible move by me. Takes. Now I believe f5 can also be a move, but even stronger was fg, queen f3. Rook e7 was a blunder. I should have played f6 at least, stopping bishop e5. But rook e7 just to check and bishop f6, and I lose the game. So this was the game. This was the complete analysis of both the games. So yeah, I hope you guys got an idea how players around having the elo of 2000 play chess. What are the thought process? And I'm definitely going to get the same video of live playing, basically speaking up my mind while playing the game of chess, and then I'm going to analyze the game. Basically, after watching this game, you're having the two idea. First idea of understanding how players of around 2000 caliber on chess.com plays, what are the thinking process, and second most important thing, which is very necessary, is how to analyze your games. Basically trying to figure out your mistakes, trying to cross verify your calculation, and then basically trying to verify it with the help of the engine. So this was it for this video. If you guys loved the game that I played, I speak up my mind, make sure to like, share, and smash that subscribe button if you want more content like this. So I'm also going to keep on posting more informational content, educational content, and in case if you're a serious chess player and if you really want to improve your game, make sure to subscribe. That's it. Thanks for watching. I'm going to see you in the next one, and bye bye.